What's up, Tigers? Welcome back to Tiger Talks. We got the man, the myth, the legend here. Cooper Zachary, point guard for Fisher High School. Hopefully, third time's a charm. You know, he's been in here a couple times. We had some technical difficulties, but, you know, we got him in here now. So, first, you know, we're 20-0, you know, undefeated, you know, and, you know, a lot of people just ask, like, how's the season going? And the question and the answer is always good because, like, we're undefeated. Just talk to us about just what led us to be, you know, successful and, you know, undefeated and how, you know, that came about.
We're just really bought in, you know, there's the end goal of winning state, and we know what it takes, you know, since we've been there. And we can't afford to have any bad practices or games like, you know, Westfield, like Coach Honiger said, don't let a loss, like, dictate our season, like, so, like, we can go further to, like, let the Westfield, like, that close win, like, snap us right back into that mode again. And, like, yeah, we just want to win again.
Yeah.
Yeah, segueing into that Westfield game, this past weekend you guys had a tough game at Westfield and then the Bank of O'Fallon shootout in Illinois. Take us through that Westfield game. You guys were down about 15 at half, I think.
Yeah.
How'd you guys come back and find the will to win?
Really just, like, deep down, like, we had to make stretches. You know, we won the third quarter by 1, and then we just kept on talking to each other, you know, just encouraging. And we just kept on stringing stops and kept on scoring. You know, at the end of the day, like, we just wanted to win. We're competitors.
That's awesome. How was the Illinois game? Take us through that. I know you guys won by a decent amount.
It was fun just because, they played a lot like us, and, like, I feel like all the teams that try to play like us were a lot better than them at. And, like, we jumped on them early, and, like, it wasn't a close game from the start. And it was really fun to have.
That was a fun game, you know. Kirby winning MVP, you know. It was. I think it was fun all around. You know, it's always fun to be able to, you know, have an overnight trip and stuff like that. I know we had tons of fun, and they were competitive too. You know, normally we don't come across teams that, like, try and trash talk us and stuff like that. So it was funny all around. So that's, you know, my 2 cents on that. So yeah.
So yeah, like, going into, like, pregame, like, I know a lot of athletes do different things. Like, I listen to music, I get food. Like, what are some things that you do to, like, pregame?
Stretch. A lot of my teammates think I'm, like, probably weird looking at me because I'm just in the locker room while Coach Weinerger's doing a pregame talk, and I'm just, like, bending over, touching my toes, stretching out my hamstrings, stuff like that. Listening to music, and then just, like, praying to God. Like, we do a little prayer before the game, and I feel like that's, like, a ritual now that we do, and, like, I want to adapt that into my game as well.
And, like, you talk about music. Like, what's your go-to song? Like, what gets you up?
Mo Chicken by Boss Man D-Lo.
You already know. I'm the DJ. I'm on aux, so we already know how to get it turned up. Mo Chicken is definitely up there for sure.
All right, so you've been a starter now. This is your second year on varsity. How do you deal with pressure and adversity?
It really started from when I was younger. Like, you know, like the AAU games were, like, very hostile, and, like, you just learn to adapt from that. And then, like, you know, coming to the HSC game, that was definitely, like, some nerves going into that. Just, like, being a 15-year-old kid playing against, like, almost 18-year-olds, and, like, you're dealing with, like, the student section heckling you, and just, like, it really, like, motivated me to, like, do so much better just because, like, I left HSC and stuff like that. And, like, I just feel like the crowd can get you into stuff, but I try to not let it.
Going off of that, actually, I think in the Westfield game they were booing you every time you got the ball. How do you deal with that? Because, like, obviously it can make you flustered and play worse. How do you deal with that?
I knew they were going to do it. Like, someone always boos someone, and, like, they don't like me at Westfield.
Is there a reason for that?
That's a good question.
Had a little mix up with a few girls over there, probably. I don't know.
Whoa.
That, and because of 8th grade, like, they beat us in 8th grade.
They beat you guys? I thought y'all went undefeated.
Or no, 7th grade. They beat us in 7th grade.
Yeah, man. That crowd was tough. I mean, it's always fun to get those competitive crowds, though. It gets the competitive juices going. They had one specific fellow over there, like, trash talking us before the game even started, just yelling across the court. So I always like those moments because I just feel like it's always fun. It's always fun to play in those type of games.
And since we're talking about pressure, like, I know we've had some close games. Like, I remember Noblesville, like, we had to close it out. So, like, what do you guys do? Like, what do you guys talk about to, like, close those games out and make sure y'all win?
You know, just staying together, like, keep doing the right things right, like, you know, making the right play. And a lot of the times, like, say we go on a run, we do that with making the right plays. Like Coach Miner always preaches, like, don't stop what got you here. Like, keep doing the stuff. Like, if you try to go ISO, that won't work. Like, against the teams we play, they're so good. Just, like, keep doing what we know is right, and at the end of the day, we'll come out on top.
Yeah, and the bounce off of that, like, so what would you say was, like, our closest games this year? Just still being undefeated, but, our toughest games with the most pressure and stuff like that.
Warsaw,
I would
Fort
definitely have them up there.
Wayne, and Westfield.
Those three definitely, they definitely pushed us to our limits. We almost lost, but
Greenfield Central pretty close too.
Greenfield was close. I mean, we had control of the game, but they started to make a run late, but they just ran out of time. But
I just didn't feel like any like doubt in that game. Like
Me neither.
I knew we were gonna win. I didn't like
the only game I felt doubt in was Westfield. But I was gonna play till the end, but I was like, man, this lead is tough. But Coach Weininger said just use the Westfield game as our Carmel game last year, our one loss, because he really believes in us to be undefeated. So yeah.
I think like something that I was thinking about, like I know like when some of our football players got hurt and stuff, like it did kind of affect our morale a little bit. So how do you guys kind of come back, like knowing like, hey, this guy might not play today, or he's a little bit like he won't get as much play time today. Like what do you guys do to kind of accommodate that?
That's a great question, dude.
Next man up is always the motto for our basketball team. Like when Baker got sick, Logan stepped up very well. He played great against Westfield and then great against Peoria Emmanuel. And then Tommy got hurt against Peoria Emmanuel. So, other players are going to have to step up this Friday. I feel like John and Tori and LeBoy can fill that role, and I'm not too doubtful in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
How long is Tommy up for?
I think 3 to 4 weeks. I think he sprained the inside of his ankle. I think something like that. He's on crutches right now. But that was a great question. We've done with our own, sickness and stuff like that. We had a lot of sickness going around.
Yeah.
Injured players like LeBoy, I think, is just starting to get back on the court after being gone for definitely a couple weeks. So we've, Coach Weininger, like he said, just next man up mentality and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, so as we touched on, you've played basketball throughout your whole life, AAU to now. Who do you model your game after?
TJ McConnell, just because like he's like a player who wants to win, makes the right plays and stuff like that. He's a defensive menace.
For sure.
And he just picks up 94 feet. We don't play 94 feet, but that's an extra
84,
feet.
yeah.
84.
Well, we played 94 against Peoria Emmanuel.
Yeah,
that was one thing that people didn't know. We played, I guess Illinois, their courts are college court size, and that's always good for us because it helps with spacing, and I think we were just able to really just...
And a shot clock.
Yeah, we did play a shot clock.
Wow.
It didn't really affect us that much. I think the buzzer went off only one time, and that was on their offense. We were playing too fast to even...
Yeah,
Do you guys think they should add a shot clock here?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like when I'm watching the games, I'm like, man, this team's holding it for a minute or two. And
Like watching a game that's in the 40s, like that's fun to watch. Like
exactly.
That's why a lot of people compliment our games because we score like
Absolutely.
80 points
Yeah.
and we just push the break. We don't even...
Yeah.
We wouldn't be affected if we got a shot clock, but I know a lot of teams would.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, teams like Carmel, definitely. Like that's the one team you think about when you talk about shot clock. It's just they just hold the ball, and I mean they held their own against us. I felt like, but they had to play fast because they can't keep up with us, and obviously they could not keep up with us. But I think shot clocks should definitely be in there for sure.
I know you mentioned roles earlier. Obviously you started as a freshman. This will be your second year on varsity. Like, what have you noticed has changed from your role last year to this year, and like what have you like done to improve like your ball game?
Last year I was more of like a facilitator and playing defense just because I had guys ahead of me, like obviously John Anthony and Keenan Gardner. Like just distributing them the ball, and then now this year, like scoring is a little bit more onto my plate now, but still doing the little things like moving the ball around, playing defense, picking up full court, just doing the stuff I did last year, but adding in a little bit into this year.
Yeah, so obviously it's just off the top of my head. You led the team in assists. I want to say last year you lead the team in assists again this year. But, I feel like you've also improved a lot in your shooting, in the stats for the 18 games. I know it's not updated, and I don't know off the top of my head, but you had... I want to say 53 threes made, so you're coming up on the in-season record that Tayden had, which was 69. And just talk to us about, what led you to be able to shoot like this. And just, I think the biggest jump that I seen was just your shooting off the dribble And so just talk to us about, your improvement from that last year to this year.
The off season in the summer was definitely crucial. Like I took that time to like make changes into my game. I studied a little bit of film to see like what I could do better with some of my trainers, and they nitpicked all the stuff that I did good, and then like they definitely picked the stuff that I did bad, and we just drilled it the whole summer. Like that was one of the big things I did, like coming off screens, catch and shoots, all that type of stuff. Attacking the rim. My floater game's still terrible, but I'm working on that. Yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, good deal. And then my final thing that I have for you before we let you go here is, obviously we had our state championship team last year. Keenan, me, you, Millen, and that whole squad. We won the state championship, whatever. And then we have this year. Which team would you have in a matchup between the 2024 Fishers basketball team versus the 2025?
I would take 2025 team just because, like, me and Jason are so much more like experienced than last year. Like,
most definitely.
Like some games I never really knew what to go to do in the games, but now this year, like I have more experience, and then like obviously you and Kirby have stepped up into your role this year, and then Bake, he didn't really play much last year, but like now he's filling that role of Keenan, and like I feel like we can match up well. We lost Tayden, so we have a lot more speed. Then we have Millen. I mean, Millen's Millen. Like he's gonna box out. He's gonna shoot. He's gonna do everything for us. Just a glue guy, and then Logan.
Yeah.
Like Logan can help Bake.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think Keenan is a handful for sure. Definitely last year, I think he'll give Bake some troubles, but Bake also did his fair share in practice against him last year. Now Bake, mostly fully healthy, and I think he could definitely take him. Now after sitting on it, I had the 2024 team, but after sitting on it, I think the 2025 team could definitely beat our team last year. So
got to find Tayden in transition.
I mean, yeah,
he sprints the
coach was right. Yeah, coach was talking about us in practice. He was like, man, if you guys would just sprint to the corner, Tayden sprinted to this corner, made 69 threes, all this stuff. So I think that's the main thing. It's just if we find him and stop everybody else, like I think 2025 team will win.
Yeah, so comparing those two teams, I think last year you guys had more depth with like Parker. And,
Yeah.
All those guys. How do you deal with that now? You guys have less depth. How do you manage that now?
I feel like we're accepting that role of like where we really have an 8-man rotation. It's a lot more minutes to go around. So for us, like we just love playing with each other, and like we like to play with each other. Like us 5, the starting 5, then the other 3. It feels like more like AAU just because like you don't really come out as much. And there's a lot less room for error. It's a little bit of pressure, but it's something we can't handle.
Yeah, most definitely. And it really helps having Kirby/Millen like just coming off the bench. It's really just an extra starter coming off the bench, and obviously Tommy's hurt now, but Tommy gave great minutes every time. And two people that like I feel like were underrated on our squad as well, that as far as depth, was Torrey and LeBoy. I felt like LeBoy, every time he got out on the court, he's getting a deflection, or he's making his guy catch it all the way out at the volleyball line, making it hard. Torrey's defense has improved really, really well, and then I think he's also at the when times he does get in, he's just finding his groove and finding ways to score too. So I mean, as far as that goes, like I think our depth from last year to this year like really hasn't trailed off too much. I mean, I think a lot of the starting guys are playing a lot more just as it is, but I think there's not really too much drop off from the guys coming off the bench. So yeah,
that's awesome to hear. Everyone's stepping up and filling their new role. And yeah.
All right, Coop, I think that's all for today. Appreciate you coming in and spending time with us, and that's Tiger Talks. Stay tuned for more.